If you've ever thought you know the whole story before it even begins, you might want to reconsider and stay with me till the very end. This is not just another dental tale, but a creeping descent into something insidious, something that will claw at your peace of mind long after the last word. As we unravel this seemingly routine narrative, hidden beneath the surface is a chilling truth that not only affects patients, but also the healers they trust most. Before we dive deeper into this unsettling reality, please take a moment to subscribe and ring that notification bell. By doing so, you not only join our community, but help ensure these stories reach those who need to hear them most. And trust me, this one deserves your attention. Dentists may be the worst patients, they say. And it turns out that this is not just a casual joke, but a backdrop to a nightmarish ordeal. It all began about a week ago with a sharp, relentless ache in my jaw, a pain so keen it demanded attention, yet was cloaked in subtlety. Initially, that ache was like a sudden stab, persistent and piercing. But as days passed, it morphed into a dull, throbbing pressure that crept up the side of my face with an alarming insidiousness. I found myself grinding my teeth unknowingly against this resistance, biting down to meet the unwanted force trapped inside. The discomfort was bad enough that I had to schedule an X-ray, an investigation between my patient appointments, hoping, almost desperately, to find something obvious: a cracked cusp, inflamed ligament, any familiar foe. But the results were disturbingly clean, clear of the usual suspects. This left me telling myself it would ease off soon, as most pains tend to do, hiding the gnawing doubt deep beneath professional composure. My work environment is a humble dental practice, modest and intimate. Just 3 treatment rooms and a waiting area no larger than a cozy living room. Housed in what was once a bank decades ago, it retains the haunting relic of a heavy vault door, still bolted firmly to the rear hallway wall. That vault, repurposed as our supply room, stores everything from the deliveries that arrive through the side entrance behind that thick steel door. A fitting metaphor for secrets held too deep. I inherited this practice from my mentor nearly 2 decades ago, back when the carpets were fresh and NHS inspections felt like a reassuring presence rather than a looming threat. Since those days, austerity has squeezed us with tightened budgets, corner-cutting suppliers, dwindling staff numbers, and a patient base shrinking under the weight of affordability. Yet, despite it all, the essence of care endured, driving me forward with reluctant determination. Today brought a new challenge, a patient no older than 8, jittery and anxious, fingering the cuff of her school jumper as I gently asked routine questions about brushing habits, her mother answering nervously for her. The young patient had chipped a molar on a particularly hard sweet, creating a small cavity beneath the crack, just enough deterioration to demand immediate filling, lest it worsen. Her wide, frightened eyes begged for reassurance, so I lowered my voice to a soothing calm, perfected over years of comforting reluctant patients. It's just a small filling, nothing you'll notice after a day plop. Sensing her lingering doubt, I shared my own recent experience, revealing the same kind of filling in my mouth and assuring her it barely hurt, which in truth was a half-lie, as the ache in that very tooth had been disturbing my nights. Despite letting a student nurse practice on me, I had been hit with a persistent throbbing, a reminder that sometimes even healers suffer the failures of care. Kelly, my trusted assistant, was poised by my side, experienced and intuitive, more focused on the patient's emotional state than the precise tools in our hands. With her silent support and a nod exchanged, I turned on the light and began the delicate work, all the while ignoring the pulse of pain, sinking cruelly with the drill's buzzing rhythm. As soon as the session ended, the mother and daughter left under the gray afternoon sky, promising rain, and I began logging the details into our system as usual, a routine behind which unease had started to fester. A sudden buzz from the receptionist announced Mr. Collins's early arrival, his discomfort evident even before I saw him. Collins, a factory worker in his mid-40s and one of the few men who only complained when things were truly dire, spoke of an ache that kept him restless at night, a shifting dull pressure that made chewing a torment. Glancing at my computer, I noticed Collins had been just 2 weeks prior for a standard cavity filling, using the same batch of composite supplies that now seemed tainted by doubt. Yet before calling him in, a flagged email from my daughter Claire caught my eye. Currently abroad in her 20s, traveling and cautious about the dentist she tried there. I had sent her some spare composite kits from a new supplier overseas, extras accidentally included with our order, hopeful to secure ongoing business, but unaware of the dark consequences. Rubbing my painful jaw, I summoned Collins for examination. He slumped into the chair with a weariness deeper than just physical pain, signaling something wrong beneath the surface. No fever, just tenderness, yet the pain was real and progressed. I ordered another X-ray, carefully positioning the sensor to capture every detail. As the images appeared side by side, comparing current screens with those taken a mere fortnight ago, I expected a minimal change, maybe a tiny hint of inflammation or a visible hairline crack, anything plausible. But instead, the tooth's interior presented alarming deterioration. Voids had opened where there had been solid enamel, hollow spaces beneath the surface shadowed with eerie precision. A clean round hole, as though surgically crafted yet with no known source of intervention. Decades of scanning radiographs had never prepared me for this kind of internal destruction. Maintaining professional calm, I urged Collins to recline once more, prepping for deeper inspection and removal of the suspect filling material. Kelly joined silently, gloves on, expression serious yet composed, knowing full well that a revisit to the chair so soon was never a good sign. Lifting the composite away, I noticed an unsettling fragility, the material crumbling unlike anything expected. The tooth beneath seemed to give way alarmingly easy, the structure compromised and vulnerable. Kelly's watchful gaze mirrored my unease, silently urging me to proceed carefully. Probing deeper with an endodontic instrument revealed an unnerving softness, the walls flexing unnaturally and giving way beneath the pressure. A mysterious void tracked deeper into the root, tapering into an unreachable darkness that was neither crack nor typical decay. It was as though the tooth was being eaten from the inside out. Despite the damage, the nerve remained untouched, offering a slim hope for repair with fresh lining and composite reinforcement. Yet the ominous void beneath threatened that fragile salvation. As Kelly fetched the fresh filling kit from the vault storage, the cheap packaging torn loosely hinted at the broader problem. The relentless cutting corners of suppliers struggling under budget constraints, with products possibly sourced from overseas and instructions printed partially in unfamiliar languages. Hurriedly, I rebuilt the tooth's interior, knowing this was only a temporary fix on what could be a deteriorating nightmare. Collins left, advised to watch for further symptoms but grateful for the care. Once cleared out, Kelly lingered, brow furrowed in concern, questioning the bizarre nature of the tooth's decomposition, a decay that defied explanation, seeming almost deliberate yet without precedent. I confessed ignorance, sharing her puzzlement as it felt deeply unsettling. With a moment to breathe before my next patient, I reopened Claire's emails, her initial light-hearted message about trying the filling kit I sent from abroad bringing a bittersweet smile. She described her clumsy but proud attempt at self-care, recalling childhood memories of fear with a tender fondness. But the follow-up email chilled me. Claire confiding to me pain intensifying in her jaw, a gnawing sense that the tooth was crumbling beneath pressure, a pain severe enough to disrupt sleep and diminish basic chewing, paired with distrust of local dental care and her own stubborn refusal to seek help. As I read her words, I touched my aching jaw, feeling the sinister pulse beneath the surface, the notion that I was part of a wider contagion settling heavily over me. Urgency pushed me to revisit records systematically. The girl, Collins, Mrs. Graham, and myself. The common thread, a shared batch of cheap composites. Invoices and dates aligned too perfectly, revealing a pattern of damage linked to those supplies. Clutching the weight of this discovery, I called Mrs. Graham for a precautionary follow-up. Her admission of odd sensations post-filling made the upcoming appointment a chilling confirmation of the advancing spread. During her examination, the filling again crumbled with alarming ease, revealing pale, porous dentin suspiciously hollow in places. Kelly and I worked quietly yet tensely, suctioning out debris while my eye caught the movement of something small and pale embedded where there should have been solid nerve pulp. Fetching the explorer, I carefully dislodged a tiny writhing larva, the grotesque intruder sliding wetly into the collection container. The two of us sat frozen in silent horror, Kelly's gloves tightening as if bracing for the terrible implication of this discovery. Instinctively pressing against my own molar, I felt that familiar shifting tremor, a sinister presence growing beneath the enamel, and the truth crashed down with crushing finality. Collins, the little girl, Mrs. Graham, Claire, and me, all infected by this unknown infestation. Aware that the supply in the vault was compromised, I instructed Kelly urgently to procure a fresh filling kit from Masts, the local supplier, with no room for hesitation or questions. She returned swiftly, a new, reliable kit in hand, confirming the facility had been blissfully naive to what I was concealing. With fresh materials, we sealed Mrs. Graham's cavity carefully and swiftly, watching relief spread across her face as the discomfort eased. But there was no time for congratulations. When she left, Kelly demanded the truth, and in that moment, a sudden sharp snap tore through my own mouth. Pain exploded, as if a tooth splintered violently. Clutching my jaw, I opened my mouth at Kelly's insistence, revealing the horrifying movement of the infection breaking through the tooth structure. A crack blossomed under the impossible pressure, pain flaring hot and roiling through bone and gum. Before I could brace myself, something pushed through enamel and emerged. A grotesque white larva, wet and glistening with blood and pulp, liberated from its prison. Kelly's face blanched, voice breaking in terror as the reality settled between us. What hellish thing had we allowed into our patients' mouths? Overcome with nausea, I turned away and vomited, while Kelly stared pale and silent at the monstrosity now in the tray. Desperation led me to the supplier's website, which, like a ghost, now simply refused to load, showing errors and vanished pages. The invoice box displayed a faint, hopeless phone number, one that disconnected each call with an automated voice, denying my every attempt to find answers. The pathway to accountability had been erased into thin air. I sat back, eyes fixed on the barren screen and the dead box, the weight of helplessness suffocating as the metallic taste of fear welled in my mouth and coursed through my veins. Halfway across the world, Claire suffered the same hellish invasion inside her own jaw, trapped in a sea of pain and distrust. As my jaw throbbed once again, dark and patient, I felt the full horror of the realization. This was no mere dental issue, but a nightmare spreading quietly from mouth to mouth, from trust to betrayal, chewing relentlessly away hope. And in that suffocating moment, I found myself utterly and helplessly alone in the wake of horror.